All right, agents, just call me Swift here, back with another weekly vendor reset, plus Cassie Mendoza starting off in the DZ West. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. Now, the first item we got is the Harmony. Excellent gun for your skill builds. If you don't got it, go ahead and get it. This is the same gun that was here last week. Perfect in sync. Hitting an enemy gets 20% skill damage. Using a skill to damage an enemy grants 20% skill damage. That's 40% skill damage, guys. Go ahead and grab this one. Next item up is the Spaz 12 with a little bit over midway rolls. I am not really liking this one. Go ahead and get it if you want. Next up, we got the classic M1A with absolutely terrible rolls, max reload speed. You might get it just for that. Followed by the Foundry Bulwark gloves. You can grab these if you really need them, but I would say just a little bit of farming will grab you a fairly decent pair. I wouldn't spend any money on these. Next, we've got Negotiator knee pads. Nothing special here. Again, I would just go farm for these. Araldi Holdings gloves. These are actually decently rolled if you're trying to do something with a headshot build. 7.5% headshot damage, 11.1 weapon damage, and you could roll the third one. Again, not the greatest, but nothing in the vendor is going to be. These are definitely workable with the headshot damage already on the attribute, and you can work it any way you want. Keeping it moving with a nicely rolled Badger Tough knee pads, near max armor, near max headshot damage. You can re-roll the armor regeneration or anything else you wanted to roll on that. I'm not sure what you would do with the headshot damage. You could probably work it into a build somehow. Definitely great knee pad. Next up, we have a 16k armor on kill mod. Definitely a good one. If you really need one, go ahead and get it in a pinch, but I think if you do a little farming, you will be able to find one in the open world. 4.3 damage mod for a Seeker Mine. 4.2 active regeneration for a shield. 5.9 damage mod for a Firefly. I'm sure if you spend some time at the crafting bench, you can go ahead and craft yourself one. Followed by an unimpressive 5.5 decoy duration mod. Next, let's head to the DZ South. First item up, another named weapon, the Manic. Perfect overflowing. Every 2 reloads from empty increases your base magazine capacity by 100%. Now, I don't have to tell you that AKs have gotten a huge buff. I think it was something like 23%. Don't quote me on that. Definitely go and check the forums. If you're into AKs and you like this talent, I would definitely pick it up. And then I would go ahead and re-roll that last attribute to something like damage out of cover to take advantage of some of that multiplicative damage. Next, we've got the PP19 with the talent killer on it. Rolls are okay. You could max out the SMG damage, definitely. I'm going to pass on this weapon, though. Next up is the ACR with the talent Eyeless. Again, underwhelmed by this weapon. Farming in the open world will get you something like this. I'm not going to spend my DZ credits. Go ahead if you want. Followed by a P of 45 with Strain, 9% weapon damage, 10.4 stability. Nothing special here. Next up, we got the Eclipse Protocol backpack. Definitely get yourself one, or you could farm for one in the open world. I love these because they're easy. You always get the one skill tier, and then you can roll whatever attribute you want. True Patriot chest piece. Nothing special. 511 backpack with protector on it. I would say you could probably get something like this in the open world. However, it does have a decent amount of armor on it at 31,000. And a good amount of crit damage if that's what you want. Wyvern chest piece with tamper proof and 1 skill tier. Again, I wouldn't spend my money on this. And that is followed by 4 underwhelming mods. Anything you could craft at the crafting bench. Okay, straight away into the DZ East. And the first item up is the Claws Out. I really like this one because it is so easy for anybody who's trying to put together a build. It comes with max melee damage at 500% and 10% pistol damage. So all you got to do is re-roll that middle attribute. Definitely if you spent time in the DZ and haven't been able to grab these, go ahead and grab them. Moving right along with a classic M44 carbine with a talent that makes absolutely no sense. Wouldn't touch this thing at all. Next, we're followed by a Stoner LMG. I would say go ahead and farm. You can go ahead and get this in the open world. Followed by an Aces mask. Unimpressive. Go ahead and farm some more. And then a tip of the spear holster. Again, wouldn't touch this one. We've got an Alps mask with headshot damage 7% and 4.4 crit chance. No comment. Jackrabbit holster with 3 slightly better than average rolls on it. We've got armor, health, and armor regeneration. You could re-roll any one of those, or you could just farm for a better piece. Next, we've got a repair skill mod, farm or craft. And I would say for these other 4 mods, I would farm or craft as well. Now let's go take a look at the settlements, starting with the Thader. First up, as always, another named item, Firm Handshake here. These are decently rolled. I would probably roll off the weapon handling. Go ahead and pick these up if you need them. Double barrel shotgun with Optimus. Nothing much to say here. Next up, we've got the SOCOM M1A with Perpetuation. Headshots grant 50% status effect damage and duration to the next effect you apply. This thing's got maxed out weapon damage, got decent amount of crit damage. You could re-roll the speed. Now keep in mind, this is not the M1A that got the buff. We all know that the Bakers kind of got a nerf. It's the CQB that got a buff. If you're just looking for an M1A that you could re-roll the talent, I would say just go and craft yourself a CQB, which has about 30k more damage on it. Golden Gear gloves with about 115k armor, some skill damage, 8.4 hazard protection, Grupo knee pads with 10% weapon damage, some crit damage on it, and some headshot damage on it. Not bad. As far as the attributes you want to see, terrible as far as the levels of the attributes. But if you think you can work with it, go ahead and pick those up. And then we're followed by 5 mods that I would not waste your time on, guys. I would just tell you to go and craft them at the crafting bench, or farm them in the open world if you absolutely need these. Still a lot more to go. Let's go ahead and go to the campus. And the first item up, surprise, surprise, is a named weapon, the Quiet Roar. Now at first glance, this looks absolutely terrible, but it does have max crit damage. The damage to targets out of cover is decently rolled, so all you would have to do is max out the LMG damage. Next, we've got a SR1 with Eyeless. Not particularly fond of this weapon. Much better weapons in this weapon class. Following it up with the Black Market RPK-74E. Now, we do know that the RPK's got a huge buff, just like the AKs. If you like this one, go ahead and pick it up. I would definitely boost that damage to targets out of cover. And Frenzy's not a bad talent either. Strangely rolled Mirror Combi Mask with 11.2% crit damage and some headshot damage on it. Now, I've been seeing this kind of thing drop in the open world. I'm not sure why all our Mirror Combi or Alps or anything with a skill tier is dropping with a lot of crit damage. There might be something in there, guys. Maybe something to do with the new raid. I don't know. And that is followed by a Mirror Combi holster with headshot damage on it and 17.2% repair skills. So I would just roll off the headshot damage on this if you needed a holster in a pinch. Now, again, when it comes to these mods that we're finding in the vendors, I haven't seen anything thus far that is surprisingly good or even whelming. So I would just craft any one of these mods. All right, moving right along to the White House. Let's go check out our 2 vendors there. Now, going to the vendor at the front, the first item we have here is the Pristine Example. I might actually pick this up just because we don't know what's in store in the raid. This thing has got a decent amount of explosive resistance, 9.4 near max. And then we've got 12% weapon damage, which lets me roll that middle one. Up to you guys. Next, we got a Police UMP 45 with slightly better than mid rolls and 13.1% swap speed. I would probably swap that out. And then we've got Ignited on it. Now we've got the new SIG variant, the 5.56, which is an AR. It's actually got decent rolls. I don't like that talent. Fast hands, I would probably swap that out for something else. This is the very same gun that the Mechanical Animal is based off of. Next, we've got a D50 with salvage on it. You could go ahead and grab this if you still need to craft yourself a Liberty and you just need a D50. Sometimes it drops a lot in the open world, sometimes not at all. Badger Tough backpack for all you people that like to go into the DZ here with Wicked on the back. The first 2 attributes are actually done pretty well, and you could probably re-roll that third one depending on what you had in mind. So all in all, not a bad roll on this one. Next is a Murakami chest piece with 7.1 skill damage and the talent Skilled. A little bit of crit damage on crit chance on here actually. So you could re-roll that attribute to anything you want. And then again at the end here, 4 mods that I would not encourage you to buy. Next, we've got the clan vendor with the first item is a Punch Drunk, 11% weapon damage, maxed out headshot damage, of course, and then some skill haste on there. Reroll the skill haste if you wanted this item. Next up, we've got a Negotiator's chest piece with 11.8 weapon damage and 15k health. Hardwired backpack, nothing special there. Eclipse Protocol knee pads with max or near max skill damage at 9.7. Next, we've got the X45 Tactical with max crit chance on it and Ranger for a talent, 10% pistol damage. You could reroll that if you like this as a weapon, or just pick it up for the max crit chance on your pistol if you don't have that. Military M870 with decent rolls on it. It's got Killer, which I would probably re-roll. 11% shotgun damage, 10% damage to armor, and 7% health damage. Immediately following up with a nicely rolled SOCOM M16 with Strained. Gain 10% crit hit damage for every 0.5 seconds you are firing. I would stick a huge mag in this and then re-roll any one of those attributes you want more of. It's got 11% AR damage, 15% damage to health, and then 8% crit damage. So I'm definitely liking that one. Next, we've got another D50. This one with 12% pistol damage and 8% crit chance with the talent In Sync. Now, if you don't have In Sync, it's actually a really good talent. You could go ahead and grab this pistol just for the talent to put into your library. Next, we've got a China Light chest piece with Entrench, which I would not touch personally. Next up, we've got another nicely rolled Raleigh glove here with 13.5 weapon damage. This time it's got 5.5 crit chance and some explosive resistance. If it was up to me, I would probably roll on either headshot damage in that middle roll or crit hit damage. All right, keeping it moving, we've got another mirror combi with some reds on it. So 4.6 crit chance, 9.0 headshot damage with protector on the backpack. Again, I'm not sure why we keep on seeing skill tiered items with reds on them. And then again, we've got 4 mods. Again, I wouldn't waste my time with these mods here. You could absolutely go and get these out in the open world or just craft them yourself. Next, let's take a trip to New York to the Haven and go visit their 2 vendors. Now, looking at the first vendor, surprise, surprise, we do not have a named item in New York. The first item here is the Vector SBR 9mm, and it's got Optimus on it with 9% SMG damage, 13% crit chance, 10% magazine. I wouldn't touch this one. You could probably find one in the open world that's better. Military M60E4. Now, I believe the M60 is the one that got the buff, not this version. This guy has unhinged, 10% LMG, damage to targets out of cover, which you're going to always get on an LMG, 9% headshot damage. I would definitely re-roll this or not even touch it at all, actually. Okay, the USC 45 ACP. This one is coming with max rifle damage. Nice to see. 8% on the targets out of cover. That's multiplicative damage. And this one's got Rifleman. Really good if you're good at hitting those headshots, and you can re-roll the middle one. So this is actually really a really nice rolled weapon here if you're into this particular rifle. And here we go again with another D50. There must be a blowout sale wherever the vendors are getting these D50s from, because we've now seen 3 or 4. This one is got Eyeless, 11% pistol damage, and 7.5 reload. Nothing special here. Wyvern backpack with Energize and status effect, 8.3%, and 8.3% hazard protection. Murakami knee pads with weapon handling and health, don't touch. RK holster with 17.4% repair skills and 10.7% skill haste. And it's good to see that New York is no different, continuing with the terrible mods that I wouldn't touch. I would just farm or craft. All right, so let's go take a look at the other vendor here in New York, which is right beside the puppy. Most people miss this vendor and do not even realize that he sells different gear from the other vendor. Okay, so following suit with the first vendor, we do not have a named item here. The first item in this second vendor here is the F2000. It's decently rolled, but I don't like the talent, so I wouldn't purchase this. I just rather have a good talent on it so I can go ahead and change up one of the attributes. So this one is a no for me. Following up, it's a G28 with 11% marksman damage, 96% headshot damage, and 6.1 stability with the talent spiked. Next up is a Marine Super 90 with 11% shotgun damage, 9% damage to armor, and 9.1% reload speed. Steady hand is on it. I'm going to say a no on this one. And would you look at that? A vendor without a D50. We've got the M1911 with finisher on it, which is a great talent. Go ahead and get that in your library. If you don't have it, this weapon has 11% pistol damage and 7% crit chance. Fenris chest piece with gunslinger on it. Swapping weapons increase weapon damage by 20% for 5 seconds. This one's got 10% weapon damage on it, 15k health, and 10.6 skill haste. I'm going to pass on this one. Wyvern knee pads with 2 blues and a skill tier. Pass on this one as well. And again, ladies and gentlemen, Alps with reds. I don't know what's going on with these skill tiers with reds on them. It would make sense on some of the offensive skill gear sets or brand sets, but not on Alps and Miracombi, so I don't know what's going on. And then again, 5 mods that I would not waste your time with. Go ahead and craft those. Now finally, last but not least, Cassie Mendoza, the special vendor. Let's check out what she's got. Okay, so the first item in Cassie does not disappoint. Emmeline's Guard with 15% SMG damage, 14.5% crit chance, and 18.5 optimal range with perfect preservation. I would probably go ahead and change out the optimal range. That's up to you what you want to do with this weapon, but it's a not bad roll. Next up, all right, so also not badly rolled, an Anarchist Cookbook. Cassie's doing well so far. This one's got 137k, 8.9 hazard protection, and some repair skill, 17.4. I would probably get rid of the repair skill. Perfectly Wicked as the status effect. Looking great if you're going to build a DZ build to run around and cause some havoc. Okay, moving right along, we've got another well-rolled item from Cassie. So the Shield Splinter, and it has 13% rifle damage, 15% damage to health, or 15.5, and then damage out of cover. Of course, that's the multiplicative damage. So this is not a bad weapon. You could go ahead and max out any one of those or even change the attribute. Next up, we've got a Negotiator's Backpack with 11.8% weapon damage, 15k health. Not too bad. You could re-roll this any number of ways. Keeping it moving along, we've got a Tip of the Spear with 11.7 weapon damage and 7.8 explosive resistance. But here's where Cassie really loses me with these Striker gloves here with 8% weapon damage. So this is no go for me. Next up is the Hardwired Knee Pads, and it's got maxed out crit damage. If you don't have maxed out crit damage in your library on your knees, go ahead and pick these up. True Patriot holster with not a bad amount of armor on it, 128k, call it 129, and 17% repair skill on there, 17.3. Next up is an underwhelming Outgoing Directive Mask with 10.8% weapon damage, 9.1% status effect, followed by a FAL with 11% AR damage, 20% damage to health, 9.5% magazine with perpetuation on it. So next up is a Spaz 12 with maxed out shotgun damage on it, but this one is a no-go for me because it's got strained, and I won't be able to re-roll any of the attributes because of that talent. Now the next item is a Miracombi with Empathetic Resolve, which is definitely the talent you want on this chest piece, but the attributes aren't really that great. Now if it was up to me, I would probably roll off the crit chance with some skill repair on here or some repair skill, and make it work until I found something better. But this is absolutely very hard to get this talent on this chest piece. Definitely great if you're doing a healer build. Go ahead and check my healer build video. I will be making a new one, actually releasing a new one with the Future Initiative, so look out for that. Next up on the list is some RK knee pads with 6.9 explosive resistance and 3,800 armor regeneration. Now, lastly are going to be some mods again, which I'm going to tell you not to waste your time with these vendors, because I haven't seen anything thus far that you couldn't craft. But if we do, I will absolutely let you know. Now, before I go, there is one item that Cassie has, and the only way you're going to see this is if you've beaten all the hunters in the game. Now, I haven't on this particular account. She's got an item called the Hunter Killer. I'll post a pic here. You can see it's got almost 130k in armor, 4,000 in armor regen, and 9.2 hazard protection. So not bad with the perfect intimidate on it. All right, agents, that's it for this week. We'll get you next week with the weekly reset plus Cassie Mendoza.